Hello, loves. Welcome back to the Power Posse Podcast. I'm Kristen.
I'm Stacy.
And I'm Ann.
And this is a place where women gather to power up, speak truth, and ride the waves of this wild, beautiful life together with courage, connection, and a little bit of sass.
If you caught our last episode, you heard from the incredible Jan Ford, who shared her spark moments. Those awakening moments for Jen that changed everything. And so today we're going to be slowing it down a little bit. We're going to be soaking it in and reflecting on what stayed with us. So join us as we dive deeper into the conversation that we had with Jen.
Because sometimes the conversation after the conversation is where the real shift happens. This is where we unpack what moved us, what challenged us, and how we're making meaning of it in our own lives.
So grab your tea or matcha, your journal, or just your whole beautiful self and settle in. Let's talk about what lit us up, what cracked us open, and how we carry it forward together with your Power Posse. Let's get into it.
All right, Jen Ford. So Jen Ford is a mom of 5. She is a grandma of 2. And we asked her what her spark moment was. And Jen shared quite a few spark moments with us. Really catalytic things that helped to change and project the trajectory of her life. How's that for a sentence? Jen is also very well known in our community for the work that she does on stage. She's been in over 26 shows alone, Cedar Rapids and the Iowa City area. And she just had a lot of really great stories that kind of started with her being a very young mom, having her first baby when she was 16. And then she also kind of went on and talked about her daughter coming out to them when she was 15. She touched on her marriage with her husband, Matt, and how that hasn't always been the easiest. But through counseling and a lot of hard work, they're in a good place now. And then she really just kind of shared her story as she went along with those things as to how these experiences, how her posse, which was her family at one point, still is, but also a group of women who she kind of got to know 20-some years ago, how they've all been through her through these changes. She talked a little bit about health, something that's also equally important to her, and how getting out and walking or running is a good way for her to kind of clear her mind. And I think just gave us a whole bunch of gems. I know we were listening to her and nodding our heads and seeing and hearing a lot of ourselves in our conversation. So yeah, let's kind of start from the beginning if we want to and talk about what, what really stuck out for you, I guess I would say, when she was first sharing her first story about being that young mom.
Right. Do we have a couple of key PowerPoints?
Absolutely, yeah. We're trying to keep it to 3, but it was a little bit difficult
It
because
was.
Jen gave us such great,
So many good things.
So many.
great PowerPoints, things that we can really hold on to and remember to help us in our own journeys. One of the things she said is, I can do hard things. That was very powerful. This too shall pass. It's going to get better. Just when we're going through a difficult time, that's something to remember. Don't try to control everything. You can only control yourself. Good thing to remember, hard to do. Have faith in yourself, learn to love yourself, and be proud of yourself. And that's also something that Renee shared as well. I think that's going to be an ongoing theme.
I agree.
For the Power Posse and our guests. And she talked about the importance of her own Power Posse, as you were saying, Stacy, throughout her life and how those Power Posses have changed also. But, and sometimes you have more than one, family and friends.
One of the things that really stuck with me that she had been saying was when she got pregnant at 15 and then had the baby at 16, and she said she had this really good friends, and then all of a sudden she had this baby and her friends were no longer her friends.
Yep.
And I was thinking as she said that about knowing that she has such a good group of friends right now and how it's almost like karma because she's such a good person that like there was this like these friends who weren't truly friends, and now she has this amazing group of friends that she has deserved all along, and she has that. And I don't know, that really hit me hard. I think when I heard that she had to, friendship-wise, had to go through that alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she said she got, pulled out of her one school and put in another school and was at a school that should have known better. It sounds like it, but really didn't, in how they treated her with kindness and compassion and love. And I mean, it's hard enough, as we know, being a teenager as it is. And it's hard enough to be a parent in your 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever age you are. But to definitely be 15 years old and then having your first baby at 16, that's a lot. You know, and she really persevered, and I give her a lot of credit for that. I found that very inspiring for her when she talked about the fact that her parents really stepped in and they helped her raise her son, allowed her to still kind of be a kid, allowed her to graduate from high school, go on to college, do those things, and still kind of keep living her life, even though something had happened that wasn't necessarily planned. They really turned it, you know, into such a huge positive for her and allowed her to continue to grow from that as well. And her son, Michael, who she mentioned, he is just a lovely, lovely young man. They've got 2 grandkids, live down in Florida, and they're just darling. And he is just as lovely as his mom and cute as a button, just like she is too. So
when she went through that as a teenager, 15 years old, and how the example her parents were to her, that they still loved her, accepted her, and that she found that felt their support all through that very difficult time. They also helped her parent. And we're just, and we're a power posse for her at that time. Yeah. So then that example, she knew what it was like to feel that. So then when she became a parent later, she was a parent at 16, but then also when she became a parent later to her daughter, that she shared about when her daughter came out to her and her husband, and how that, you know, she remembered what that was like to go through a challenge when she was a teenager and have parents that really came around you and loved you and supported you, that she then could do that then for her daughter as well.
I thought it was amazing too when she said that she, you know, stepped away and went outside and screamed and kind of let that go and let that release be. And, you know, I'm sure that it took more to work through than just that moment.
Yeah.
But it just, I think hearing that she was able to let go of some of these expectations that she had, realizing that it's not her life, it's her daughter's life. Yeah. And so the expectations that she had and these things that she always kind of thought, you know, she had mentioned the wedding and the, you know, all these things, and and to be able to work through some of those things that, you know, she felt were disappointing, and yet she has this amazing daughter, and I know her daughter, she's a phenomenal person, and to be able to acknowledge that those were her things. Those weren't things that, you know, they were things that she was putting on someone else.
Yeah. And I think so many times in that situation, right, with your kids, like, you just want your kids to be happy and healthy. I mean, that's what it kind of boils down to. And when you think about something like that, I mean, how much courage it takes for your kiddo to come out to you, that speaks a lot to the kind of relationship that they had with their kids, that they felt like it was a safe space, which is so important, especially for kiddos who are members of the LGBTQ community. I mean, statistically, 80% of them, it's been shown that if they have one safe person to come out to, 80% of them then will not go through with suicide, because we know that our youth, especially our LGBTQ plus IA youth, do have higher rates of suicide. So the fact that that was something that she was able to speak to her parents about honestly and openly, and I think a lot of times in situations like that, it's you think like the worst things then. You know, you think like, is somebody going to be mean to my kid? Is somebody going to judge my kid? Is somebody now going to look at my kid, you know, instead of, you know, this is my daughter so-and-so, instead like, oh, well, that's their gay kid. Because unfortunately, as evolved as you hope people can be, that's not always the case. Yeah. So I think in any situation like that with your kiddo or someone that you care about, when they come out or they share with you something that's maybe not what you expected or hoped for them, that's your number one fear, right? You love your kid and you become even more protective of them, but you have to let go of all these things, and then you're kind of instantly seized with this fear of like, I'm going to knock out anybody who is like not nice to my child, you know, and you just kind of get back into, I say mama shark mode. I don't say mama bear mode because like mama shark, I think they're way cooler than mama bears because mama shark, they'll just swim on up to you and they'll like just chop your legs off while you're swimming and then you just sink into the bottom and they just swimming away with a swish of their tail and they don't care. And that's like, that is me. I'm like, I will bite your legs off and swim away and not look back. I don't care. So yeah, don't mess. Don't be messing.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the other things that, when she talked about having some life choices and how when we realize that our choices are affecting our kids, that's when, it's one thing to make choices and know that it's affecting your life and it's affecting other, even other adults' lives or community members or anything. That's one thing. But to then have that affect your children. And I think, I certainly have had moments of that myself.
Sure.
And I think that is where, when she said that, realizing that it was affecting her children, and that's when she knew that, some things needed to change. And I don't know, that hit me.
What do you think it was about that hit you?
Because I know that I've had things that, moments in my life that I've made poor choices that have affected my kids also, whether it be, someone that I surrounded them with that perhaps I shouldn't have, or, I don't know, I'm trying to think of other things. Being in kind of sad moments of myself when, going through a divorce. Obviously, I've had some pretty significantly sad moments, and allowing that to affect the way that I was in front of them or the way that I interacted with them. And of course, we're all human, and that's okay. And yet seeing how much, especially as a parent, as a mom, how much what we're going through affects our kids. And, saying certain things about myself. I am notoriously, within my family, my kids get on me about it all the time. I don't talk nicely about myself often, and that's definitely something that I know has affected my kids. And it's taken me a really long time to figure that out. So that hit me because I know that my journey through life has affected my kids, and in ways that, of course, you don't want it to. You don't want that. You want to be this perfect mom, and
which is impossible.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
But when I was pregnant with my son, my firstborn, and when I was pregnant with him, and I was just like, I want to be perfect. I want, I don't want my kids to ever see me cry. I don't want them to ever know that I'm upset about anything. What?
Yeah.
Like, who actually thought that was a reality, or that it could be?
Yeah. And that's even good for them because they need to see it. They need to see adults around them going through hard things, and how do you deal with hard things? And even when we make bad choices, how do we deal with that? That we do it, that we take accountability, and that we make changes that we need to, and that it's hard. But like that was one of the things that Jen said, that we're always evolving, that we're always learning, like that's how she is, and that's how I think it's best for us to be, is always being willing to learn and evolve and admit when we do things wrong, take accountability, and also, be willing to but how can I do better? And that was also another thing she said. And then being willing to learn, being teachable, trying new things, getting better and asking for help. She mentioned counseling and podcasts and books and other ways that, we can learn more about ourselves, learn how to do things differently and better that will not only benefit us, but benefit the people around us and especially our kids, because when they're growing up, because they're right there. Right. They're watching, they're listening, they're paying attention so that they can become healthy adults that, like Jen said, that she has learned to love herself, flaws and all, which is something that Renee said, but Jen reiterating that in her own way, that learning to love yourself and be proud of yourself. I'm not perfect, she said. I'm not perfect, but being able to love and be proud of yourself, and that when we are behaving that way in front of our kids and saying those things to ourselves, they're learning too. That they also can love and accept themselves and be strong people and ride those waves of life.
Yeah.
Because it's hard.
It is hard.
Yeah.
It is hard. And it doesn't always have to be actions. I mean, inactions sometimes are an action in of itself. I've talked about that with both you guys too, that for me, when I was going through my divorce, one of the things that was a catalyst for that is I wanted my kids to know that even if something was scary or hard and it was something that you were used to and that was your norm and that was your comfort level, even if it was all kinds of levels of comfort crazy, was that when you loved yourself, when you made those decisions to do something for yourself, that would allow me then to hopefully be the best mom, the best friend, the best, all these other things that I could be, because we're so conditioned as people to put other people before us. Yeah. And that's a great skill to have. It's fantastic. But again, just like we said last time, the air mask comes down from the flight, you're supposed to put that on yourself. And we're not conditioned to do that a lot of times because we think we can help everybody else. Yeah. And we can't. And one of her things was, this too shall pass. And I love that saying, but I also think sometimes that this too shall pass feels like a kidney stone for a lot of people. Like when they're in that moment,
Yeah.
and they're just like, it can pass.
It's so
it's going to hurt like
it's
hell,
gonna
but
hurt,
it'll pass.
And we come up with these things sometimes like, this too will pass. And it's true, it will. But when you're in that moment and it's really dark and you don't want to talk about it and you have people who want to talk about it and you're like, I don't want to talk about it. It's too painful, or I feel like a broken record, or I don't want to be that person where I'm with my friends and they're like, oh my God, here she goes again talking about. And most of the time, like your Power Posse, they know what's going on and they're not rolling their eyes at you. Right. But we get to that point where we don't want to be a burden on somebody. And I think she had such a good point with that. Mental health is so important. Don't do that by yourself. Listen to a podcast. Get the counseling that you need. There's no shame or harm. Yeah. Read the books. Yeah. Because being in that moment, waiting for that kidney stone to pass, it's horrible. It's just not a fun place to be. Yeah. And so many people stay in that moment because they don't know how to get that help. And some people, I think, honestly, stay in moments like that because that unhappiness and that unhealthiness is what they know.
It becomes the norm.
It's a safer thing for them to stay in. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. And it's so frustrating for those who care about that person. And it's frustrating for that person themselves because if they really look at it, they're like, ugh, I'm miserable. But it's safer sometimes to stay in what you know, even if it's unhealthy and sad and wrong and painful, than to do the work. And just speaking personally, oh my gosh, doing the work is so hard. But when you start to make that progress, you feel so much pride in yourself. And you should feel proud because it does. It takes a lot of work to change things about yourself that you don't like.
Yeah.
And it is so much easier to not change anything.
Oh.
And it's so much easier, even if you're in a completely shit situation. Yep. Sometimes it's just easier to stay than to make the change and have to go through all of that and relearn who you are or who you used to be or who you want to be.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And no judgment. No judgment for those people who are in that.
Oh,
I mean,
we've
all been in that, and I think that so many times you've heard, well, you should just do this or you should just do this. It's like, shush your mouth.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know what somebody's going through. You don't know where they're at financially. You don't know if there's abuse. You don't know. So if you can't say something productive and helpful, or if you can't sit in silence next to somebody while they're spilling their guts to you, just shush it.
Yeah.
Shush talking.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. But doing that work to rebuild.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I found Jen's stories just of throughout her life, just so inspiring. And that, there's been a lot of work and she's done the work.
Yep.
You know, she's found people and other things to help her to look inside and say, what do I need to do differently? What do I need to do better? While at the same time loving herself where she's at too.
Right.
And I think that's so important. It's both. It's both. And that's why she feels that she's in a good place today because of that work, and at the same time still working and changing. And because
having that awareness that
every day
there are still things that we can work on, and there's always going to be more stuff that's going to come up,
New
and
challenges.
there are always ways to work through them. You know, that I can do hard things that she kept saying that, you know, absolutely.
Yeah.
And having that awareness that these are hard things.
Yes.
And I can find a way through. I can find a way around. I can find a way over.
Living in that truth.
Yeah.
Even though that truth can be incredibly painful, like living in that truth. Yeah.
But I think, you know, knowing that those things are there, that those things exist, you know, again, a lot of people, it's so easy to put blinders on. And again, that's fine if that's what's working for someone. But, you know, it's refreshing to hear so much awareness and so much ideas of how to work on some of these things.
Yeah.
And the desire to do so.
Yeah. And the fact that she had so many things. I mean, every time she was like, and then this, I just kept thinking, like, how much of a phoenix she was constantly, like, you know, one part would burn down and then she'd rebuild this part, and then this other thing would happen, and then she would rebuild here, and then she would rebuild this part. And I appreciated her candor and her honesty as well, you know, even in saying with her husband, you know, things are still, they're good. We're in a much better place and we've done the work, but we're humans, you know, we're in a relationship.
Yes.
There are days I do not like him. There are days he does not like me. And, you know, to have that awareness, I think, is so key to growth. And I appreciated how she touched on that as well in, you know, saying, like you were saying, Annie, you know, she's like, I'm not perfect. But acknowledging that and recognizing that and continuing to do the work, because it's really easy to do the work and then be like, oh, I'm good. And I mean, people pleaser here, I find it very easy to slide back into, you know, being peacemaker versus peacekeeper, like we've talked about. So you have to keep doing that work.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's so hard and so mundane and so boring, and I don't like it, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
I can only journal so many times before I feel like I'm just saying the same thing.
Keep
So many
journaling.
pages.
Keep journaling. Yes.
And once again,
Just a question mark on
I
all
will
these pages.
repeat.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the hard things will keep coming. So needing to say that to yourself, I can do hard things, because life it is.
Yeah.
There will be more hard things. You might be in a good place right now, but it's not like you reach some place where you're like, oh, now everything is just sunshine and rainbows and everything's easy and I figured it all out. And no, that's never going to happen.
Yep.
It's like that everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, no, some things are just shit and they should not have happened. It's like, no, that doesn't everything.
Being human is hard.
It is,
you know,
100%.
and life keeps happening, and there will always be challenges.
Yeah.
And but being able to recognize that and being able to say to yourself, I can do hard things. I can work through this. I've worked through hard things in the past. These were things that Jen had said. And I've worked through hard things in the past. I know that I will get through it. I know I know what's in me to do that, and I know what I have to do to get through it.
Yep.
And then I have resources. I know the things that give me joy, the things that empower me. You know, when she goes out for a walk or a run, listens to that podcast or that music that motivates her and gives her clarity. And then she has those people around her, her family, which gives her a lot of joy and strength. And then that Power Posse, those women that she has around her. That
And to have friendships that have lasted for that long, that is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that I mean, I don't know if many people truly have.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
agree.
to have those super close friendships. You know, I have people that I've known and have come kind of in and out of my life for that long, but no one who I've been close with for that entire time. That takes maintenance.
Yes.
Like that takes
Absolutely.
a lot of care
Nurturing.
and time and nurturing and setting your own shit aside sometimes to be able to be there for
one
someone else,
another.
and to do
Yeah.
it for that many years and decades is phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So incredible.
You know, part of it, I think, is because people move a lot, too. That can
Right.
make it harder. And
Yeah.
she did say one of them has moved away in her Power Posse. But, you know, we have ways today, which is great, to
Right.
still stay connected
But
better
again,
than we
it
did
takes,
in the past.
that takes effort and time.
Yep, absolutely.
And it's so worth it.
Worth
but
the investment.
It's
Yes.
but it is. It's to maintain for that long with
Yeah.
the same people is, you know, again, it's almost so easy to like, oh, I met this person. I really, you know, I'm going to go hang out with this person.
Yeah.
Oh, look, another one. Oh, she's kind of fun. Let's go hang out here.
Yeah.
And yeah, sure, bring new people in, but to, you know, nurture those true friendships. Because, God, think of how many people we meet in our lives
Right.
and how very few of them are those people.
Become those really
Yeah.
close
Yeah.
friends
And once
that
you
are,
find them,
And she's
Chosen
lucky too.
family.
I mean, yeah, exactly. That she had her family.
Yep.
Because a lot of people don't have that, you know, and that's a whole nother can of worms that we can discuss sometimes. But, you know, that's a whole nother thing where I think there's a lot of guilt that can be associated with that as well. You know, like you have this expectation, or there are expectations out there that, you know, well, that's your parent, or that's your this, or that's your blood. Like every time you hear that, it's like, you know, like we said before, well, then they should know how to treat you.
Yeah.
You know, but so many times, again, all the things that you're conditioned to think that you have to put up with, or conditioned to think that that's normal when it's not. And to be that brave person who says, this is not what I choose for myself, whether that is someone in my family who is not healthy for me, or if that is someone that I am married to, or if that is a friend, if that is a job. There are so many things. To take that step and say, I want more, is huge. And it's the first step towards, I think, always, you know, going on that journey and reaching those spark moments and figuring out, what is it that I want? Who do I want to be?
Yeah.
How do I want to affect the people around me? How do I want to make my world a better place? And it's I think once you, like Renee has touched on it now, we have touched on it now, Jen has touched on it, it has to come from a place of self-love. It has to come from a place of caring about yourself enough to say, I deserve better and I want better. And come hell or high water, I am going to find a way to make it better.
Yeah. 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 And Jen shared that about that was like this third spark moment that
It
she
was.
shared when she was really struggling in her marriage and because of choices she made. But that was one of the things. It really was an identity question that came up there. And that's just interesting to me. And the time period, I think, was midlife.
Yep.
You know, for her as well. In that, and that's just so interesting to me, because that means that we're not figuring out who we are when we're in our 20s, and maybe we should, but we don't.
No.
The should. but we don't, I think, especially people in our generation, women in our generation, because we do have these expectations of like, you graduate from high school and then, maybe you go to college or not, or you get a job and then you get married and then you have kids. And there's like a very set timing of it too, an order of things and a timing of things, even though Jen's was not in that same order. But she did say she got married though very young, right? 21. I got married at 22. I mean,
23,
Yep.
22.
Yeah. Yeah. So young that like, I didn't know who the hell I was at that point. And did not give myself time to figure that out on my own.
Although, did we even know that we didn't know who we were then? Like, I wasn't even self-aware enough to know that I didn't know. And that was me personally. I'm not saying that all young people or early 20s or whatever, but me personally, I had no self-awareness.
We didn't
at
ask
that
the
time.
question.
We didn't ask the question.
We didn't ask the question.
We
We were
it
just
wasn't
like,
even a thing.
who am I supposed to be? I think was the question instead of who am I and what do I want to do? It was like, what do you want to major in college? But it wasn't like, what do you actually want to do with your life? Like, and who are you? Like, what are your gifts? What are your skills? What are you interested in doing? What do you want your lifestyle to be? What do you want your life to look like? And taking away all the externals that are telling us, right, or that are deciding that for us, this is what it should look like, or this is what a happy life looks like, or this is what a good life looks like. And instead saying, no, I'm going to block all of that out, and I'm going to look inward instead and say, like, no, who is Anne? And what does Anne, what is Anne good at? What does Anne love to do? What gives her joy? What is she passionate about? And those things can change, right? But even taking the time to do that when you're that young, before, instead of then just kind of taking on this role and falling into these external expectations of what a good life looks like, and just following that pattern, that formula. And instead, taking the time to decide that. But instead, we didn't do that. So, and
Here we are. We didn't then.
I mean, the three of us, Renee, our first guest,
Yep.
Jen, our second guest. I mean, we have these similar stories because around midlife, then we're like, something happens and we're like, wait a minute. What the hell? Something wakes us up and we go, what the hell? Like who am I? And what, and Jen said that, what do I want my life to look like? Who do I want to be? And that, and then she started doing a lot more even of that internal work and figuring out how to answer those questions for herself. Yeah.
And I feel like that's the whole reason we started this podcast,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because we feel like there are so many women out there who are in this situation. It's not just the three of us and the couple of guests we've had so far. It's this is a thing. It's an issue.
It is a thing.
It's a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not necessarily, I mean, just that it's not necessarily like in your 50s. It could be earlier.
Absolutely.
Just depending on, it's wherever it is in your journey where you hit that place where you're like, wait a minute. I've just been doing what I'm like supposed to do or should do or what other people say my life should look like. And now I'm like, and something happens that wakes us up from that. And then we start asking those questions and going internal.
So what was it that woke you up? What was it that woke you up?
Ooh. I think for me, one of the things that woke me up is when just my son was really struggling.
Yeah.
When he was not quite 16 years old, he was 15 and stopped going to school and stopped his part-time job and just really was depressed and really struggling. And and then he went to a teen program that I think that did help. I have a lot of now thoughts about that. Would I make the same decision today? But I think him being in such a place, because so much of my identity was in being a mother. Mm-hmm. And then so much, and the rest of my identity was being being a wife. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then so coupled with that, struggles in my marriage. Mm-hmm. And both of those things were like, this is who I am, right? Mm-hmm. Or at least all these externals were telling me that's who you are, Anne, and that's where your identity lies, and you should be happy, and it all should be great, and you should find complete fulfillment and satisfaction from those two things, because you're a woman, and this is what your life is about. And and when both of those things were like faltering, and I was like, oh my gosh, my marriage, this isn't going well. I'm not a good wife. My son is struggling so much. I'm not a good mother, or I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do either of these things, and I thought that I did, and I thought I was good at them, and I thought this, and then when they both, were crumbling, I was like, who am I? And actually really struggling with like, am I anything without these two things? Mm-hmm. If I'm not a wife, so if I'm not married, and if I'm not a mother, or because I was scared that would I lose my son, either, to suicide or just that he would hate me forever and not want to have a relationship with me, then who am I? What is my life about? Mm-hmm. If it's not about those two things, and that, and figuring out that, there's a person in there. Anne is a person besides those roles. Mm-hmm. Those are just a part of me. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Those are just two parts of many, many parts of who Anne is. Yep.
But it's so hard to know that when those are the roles that you've been, and that, being a parent is all encompassing. Mm-hmm. And I don't care if you have a full-time job, if you're a stay-at-home mom, or dad, if you're, no matter what your situation is, it is an all-encompassing role.
Yes.
And being a partner to someone is also all-encompassing. Mm-hmm. And then throw in the rest of life and perhaps other things that you might want to be doing, and all of a sudden it's so much. And if you take two of those major parts of who we are away, or if you are questioning them, then that's where the becoming a shell comes into, I think I've used that terminology before for myself. I just felt like I was a shell. Yeah. Like I didn't even feel like there was anything left inside anymore, because I just didn't even, it felt very hollow at one point. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I thought that too. Like before I got divorced, that was one of the things I thought was, I could stay here. I could have, the house, maybe not financial worries, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, but if I do that, I will literally be dead inside. I will feel nothing. I will be nothing. I will do nothing except for plaster a smile on my face and go through the motions every day. And I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Yep.
You'll be playing the roles.
Yeah.
Right?
And what am I teaching my kids then?
Mother.
Nothing, I mean, I want to teach them to stand up for yourself, to love yourself, because you are your first and best friend.
I love that. Mm-hmm. There's a PowerPoint right there from Stacy.
You're your first and best friend.
You're your first and best
I love
friend.
that. Yeah.
Well, ladies, I feel like we should probably wrap up.
Yes. I think so. So we are, as always, incredibly grateful to our guests. We are very grateful to Jen Ford for coming in, for sharing her stories, for lighting us up. And just the truth that she shared and her spark moments, I think really resonated with us today. And we hope that they resonated with you as well. She gave us a lot to think about. And I think we're probably still going to be sitting with it here in the next week or so. So to you who is listening, remember, please keep owning your power. keep finding your people, or keep looking for those people that you know are going to bring you what you need. And again, if you're still looking, you have got us right here, always, your little Power Posse.
That's right. If this reflection stirred something in you, I know it certainly did with me. Please pass it on. Share it with your girls, share it with your Power Posse, send it to your sister, your mom, your walking buddy, someone who you feel maybe needs to hear it.
Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's next on the Power Posse podcast. And if you're feeling generous, leave us a rating or a review. It helps more badass women like us, like you, find their way to this space. This episode was produced by Upload Media Group. Learn more about them at uploadmediagroup.com. Thank you again to Logan.
Thank you, Logan.
And to our listeners, please keep that sparkle alive. And we will see you next time on the Power Posse Podcast.